Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of GMG Reviews. I'm Ash, and today I'm taking a look at the Wings of Vengeance 2-player starter set for Aeronautica Imperialis 2nd edition. Now this is the, I guess, new edition of an old Forge World game, which was available in the old Forge World hardbacks with epic scale 6mm airplanes, and featured dogfighting and some campaign rules and aerial combat and stuff. This is a all plastic starter set for 2 players to play the game on a hex map. So less of a traditional war game, more of a board game, air combat game. It retails for 110 Canadian. I don't usually look at other people's prices, so I'm not sure what it retails for elsewhere, but roughly 100 bucks probably, or the equivalent in other currencies. Features, there's some noise, I turn this over. You got 2 armies, so you have the Imperial Navy, and then 5 planes for the Orc Airwa, which is 3 Deca jets, and then 2 fighter bombers. Now you have a poster mat, a rule book, 8 dice, a bunch of tokens, and 2 quick reference sheets in here as well. And so let's crack it open and take a look. Now I have built and painted everything in here, so this is actually, what I've done is I've actually converted this for storage now. So when you open this, you're gonna see all this stuff sitting on top. So here's the rule book, here is the poster mat, the quick reference sheets, the cool poster to identify all your dudes. And it also has the cover again, so if you like posters, nice glossy covered poster there too. And then I built this up for storage. So this is actually tool chest pluck foam that I put in here, and then this is just a little organizer tote from Walmart. So I like to, when I build these things, I like to make them all pack up back into the box they come into very often. There's people that sell laser cut versions of this, but I just go get pluck foam and do it. So you're gonna get 9 planes. You get your Marauders, you get your Thunderbolts. The Marauders are the only ones that wouldn't sit pointing in because they're a bit too tall. And then you're gonna get your Orc planes, which are the Deca jets ×3, and they're all different, which is nice. And then you get your 2 fighter bombers. You get 9 bases. Now I've painted these, and people have already asked me how I did the nice like sort of bronze with like a patina on them. What I did was I used some masking putty. You can also just use regular store poster putty if you want to mask the wheels, and then just little dots of it put in there for the numbers. And then I just spray painted this with some Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch. It was like a bronzy gold. Gave it a dry brush, washed it with some thinned down old hot turquoise gloss and water to give it the patina, and then just let it dry, and testers dull coated it. And so there's all our planes. And then this sucker right here, which is all the tokens and the flying stand stuff. I threw 8 extra dice in here, so you just get the white dice in this. You don't get these blue dice, but so we weren't handing dice back and forth during the Let's Play, which you guys saw yesterday. And if you haven't seen it, you can check it up in the cards. Yeah, it's just handier to not have to hand a handful of dice back and forth across the table. You get your ace maneuvers, which are numbered 1 through 8 and are all sided the same on this side, so you can blind declare what your maneuvers are. And then you're gonna get your damage tokens, which come in 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. So the 1s and 2s flip, the 3s and 4s flip. And your stall, spin, and tailing markers for various in-game states. Now, the things you don't get in this box, which I was a bit confused by because they're referred to all through the rulebook, the Quickstart rulebook, are the airplane cards. So you don't get the cards with the stats of the guys on them. And we'll talk a little bit more of that when I start flipping through here. But that's the box contents, that's everything. So I did have some additional bits. You do get lots of gubbins for arming your airplanes and stuff like that. Of course, sorry, the flying stands and stuff are in here too, so that I just take them off the pegs. Once these are painted and the flying stands are painted too, these guys right here, they're plenty. There's lots of resistance to keep these nice and tight. They still go on and off okay, but I can take them on and off and they're just fine. And so yeah, so these are in 8mm. They're about 33% bigger than the old Epic ones, which are in 6mm. And the old Epic ones are funny because the Forge World resin Epic ones are significantly bigger than the original metal Epic ones, which are like, they're supposed to be in 6mm scale, but they're like in 4mm scale, like relationship size wise to all of the people. And yeah, you get some options. So mostly what you've got for options is your underslung weapons. So you can see here, all of these underslung weapons, you get bombs or custom big shooters. And for the Thunderbolts, you actually get the option of making a Fury who has these Avenger bolt cannons on it, or you get to make a regular Thunderbolt with its autocans on the front. So that was pretty cool. I was surprised the Marauders only made regular Marauder bombers. They don't make Marauder destroyers. So you don't get the option of having the 6 autocans on the front, which I don't know why. I don't know why. There was space in the frame. They probably could have done it. Instead, you get lots of underslung missiles and bombs. I said this in the Let's Play, but I'll say it again. Just make them aesthetically pleasing. You're going to have the option of buying, well, you're going to want to go buy the cards on top of this box set because you really need them to play. Like, we took pictures of all the stats on our phones. We handed it back and forth a lot. But again, build these however you like because the cards are actually going to show your loadouts. So you don't really have to worry about it. And they're so small that, like, you can't really visually identify what everybody has. Your opponent and you can both just see the cards to one side. It'll make it way easier for playing the game. So let's take this off and take a little bit more looks at these components. So these quick reference sheets, now these are in nice colored, like fairly good card stock. Like they're in a nice height of card stock, but go get them laminated. This is pretty much the whole of the game rules right here. Like you don't need to really look at the rulebook when you have this in front of you. In previous editions, the moves were all on cards, like just like Magic card style cards, and you'd put a card next to a plane and then flip it when it's time to maneuver. In this one, you're putting down your tokens, and there's a numeric value for each one. So they go from simple to hard, basically. There's no planes in existence right now that can bank or wing over. All of the planes that come in the star set are maneuvers 1 through 6 at most. So you can do a stoop with your Thunderbolts. The rocket planes, the Arc-Skek, can do at best a stall turn. And if it's a fighter bomb, a snap turn. So and the Marauders can do like 1 through 3. They're like super heavy, like they're flying buses, basically. So there's no way for them to do them. But unless you memorize these maneuvers in your head, which is not easy to do because you have to orient them to the plane every time, so you really need to like turn the sheet and like figure out where's my plane facing before you start doing one to figure out what your actual options are. Yeah, you want to make these as durable as possible. I'm gonna go and get them laminated just so that they last because they're already getting dog-eared from use and they're pretty vital, and I don't want to be looking at a rulebook either. We got our 30 by 30 inch mat. So I misspoke in the Let's Play. I thought I eyeballed this, to be honest, when we were playing the game. I thought it was 36 by 36, but it's not. It's only 30 by 30, which seems odd because it doesn't fill the box. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. It's only 10 by 10. I don't think they could fit it in the box. I think the box is just slightly too small to make this a 12-inch square. I think that's probably why this happened. They wanted to make the box a standard size board game packaging because I think that board is the same size as the Crunch and what is it, Lair of the Necron Combat Arena style box. Where's my yeah, it's the same size as the Titanicus box actually. I'm sorry, looking at my bookshelf right now trying to figure out what's the same size. And they probably couldn't fit the mat in at full scale in there, which is a shame because I wish that the components in the box were the standard mat size because there's currently on pre-order another area of engagement which is 36 by 36, which is what's talked about in the core rules, which I'll have to buy now to do it. And it's in cardstock instead of in paper. Now this is a good quality paper mat. As far as paper mats go, this ain't bad. It's not matte though, it's pretty reflective, so you're not doing too bad. The Let's Play didn't look too bad on it. I haven't had any comments yet about the mat being shiny. I didn't bother dull coating this because I knew I was just going to buy the cardstock one, which I'm hoping is in a nice matte finish. Which is funny because this is shiny in the rulebook, which is actually in a matte finish now that you look at it. And so yeah, so let's talk about the rules of the game. If you've played the previous edition, I'm not going to go through how to play the game because you can watch the Let's Play, and if you played the previous edition of Aeronautica Imperialis, it's almost identical. It's actually pretty much exactly the same game. With better in-game assets if you go and buy the cards and all of the measuring removed and replaced with hex squares. Like, it's functionally identical. It's the same game as the previous edition with way nicer models, obviously because they're plastic kits and a hex-based movement system. You still actually move pretty much the same way because you move 2 inch per every point of speed. The only really sort of fundamental core change to the game is they've dropped the ceiling from a maximum elevation of I think 8 to 4. So they have the size, which means there's only 4 range bands to be on. So typically if you're on elevation 2 or 3, you're able to shoot anybody in the air except if they're all the way at the top, you know what I mean, or all the way at the bottom. So if you're in 3, you can shoot 2 and 4. If you're in 2, you can shoot 3 and 1. So you're never more than 1 elevation away from being able to attack somebody, which means there's no just like climbing into the sky and being safe. And you have these weird like dogfights that would take forever because you're flying around until somebody can actually get to the right elevation. Guys were just going whoa up and down. And and making it hard to fight. So nice full color. I mean, for like a 2-player kind of like quickie starter set, like almost a demo starter set, it's a good quality book. Nice full color rules, what you'd expect. And so what's in the box? Air War in the 41st Millennium. So talking about, fighting airplanes in the Emperor's realm. Not everybody's the Fantine Air Corps. Most of the Imperium has to rely on the Imperial Navy to come help them. I then painted my planes promptly as the Fantine Air Corps, which is the one guard regiment that has space trucks because they live on like a floaty planet. And then the basics of the game. So here's your what's in the box. Like I described, you got your mat, 9 planes, rulebook, 2 quick reference sheets, dice, and all your tokens. The basics, doing things. So now, I did want to talk about one rule in here that I think is great. The principles actually in this, because this is the first time I've actually seen this written in a rulebook, and I think this is kind of awesome. So there's a line in here for takebacks and changing one's mind. It's not uncommon for players of any game to second-guess themselves occasionally, saying that they're about to do something before immediately changing their mind. As a general rule, players should be tolerant of this in their opponents, and they will likely do it themselves. However, once dice are rolled for any reason, or speed or altitude dials are adjusted, players must abide by their decision. They can no longer go back and change their mind, pretending they came before the dice roll or the adjustment. So what's interesting about this in here is it's trying to get rid of gotchas, where you've forgotten something and you've gotcha'd yourself. But it does have a hard and fast rule for when you can't go back, when you can't do a take back. Which I think is interesting because a lot of the consequence stuff in this game, so for instance, exceeding your maximum speed if you forget what your maximum speed on a plane is, or going too low, like you decide you're going to dive to do something and you accidentally crash, like all of those things are going to be predicated upon this no takebacks thing. So if you adjust the dial and accidentally go to 0, and you go, oh no, I was only altitude 1, then you're gonna have to make a crash test and see if you actually pull up in time and go back to 1. All those little things are really solved by this rule, and I like that. I like there being a hard and fast, like, takebacks are fine. It's okay to have a take back with your opponent. People forget things, but once dice are rolled, you're stuck. Sorry, you can't go back. And I think that would be a great rule to see in other games, as to when it is and isn't socially acceptable, and when you can just be like, sorry man, you rolled the dice, like, them's the rules. It's kind of like a legal procedure in Blood Bowl, but a little less gotcha-y. You're nothing else really interesting in here. Just modifying the rules, open skies. You can move over each other, getting ready to play on your kitchen table. It does refer to roughly 3x3 for your average area of engagement, so it's a small one. And as your size of forces increase, you're going to go to 4x4, and then particularly large ones would be on 8x4, should be 2 4x4 mats. Now, the 36x36 inch card mat that is available right now for pre-order is cool. I'm really hoping they do a neoprene mat in 4x4. They have done 4x4 neoprene mats before, and I would prefer, having played the game now on 30x30, I don't know that 36x36 would open it up that much. 3 more hexes on each side. Sorry, 3 more hexes around the sides. Maybe. It did feel cramped with the fighters. The orc fighters, like, you can't get away from them, and all of the Imperial guns are pretty much effective at medium range, whereas the orc guns are all getting in close. So being like jammed in with the orcs was pretty rough. But we'll see. I mean, I'll pick up the bigger area of engagement. I'm really hoping they do a bigger one for 4x4 though, because I think the game will feel more like an air combat game, and maybe go all 12 turns when you're actually having to like chase each other and engage a little less frequently than just constantly firing your guns at each other. So yeah, anatomy of the card. You can look here and see it's basically the same as in the previous edition. So structured hit points, transport and fuel, if relevant to the mission. Your throttle, so how much you can increase, decrease your speed by. Your ace maneuvers, so what maneuvers you have available to you. Your handling, so that's your, if you're going to stall or crash or whatever, this is what you need to roll to not stall or crash. It's basically your piloting ability, and then handling can be changed by, I think, a pilot card. Your minimum speed, so the speed at which you have to be traveling at least, unless you want to stall. Your maximum speed, again, you could stall out, and then your maximum altitude as well, which is 5. And then this is for the Marauder Bomber. Now you also have your class, which is Bomber, and certain missions will require you bring certain classes of planes. So while this collection is fine for what comes in the starter set, you may find yourself wanting to pick up additional planes to play all the missions. Like some missions you might have to have all fighters, some missions you might have to have all bombers, and you're more restricted in what you can take. And then you also have scouts, which we haven't seen yet, but I assume scouts are things like maybe vultures, right? Or Def Coptas, if they do a Def Copta mini. I think it'd be awesome if they did Def Copta mini, because then you get tiny little orcs too. And that's it. We're on the slippery slope back to epic. And then your gun stats are identical to the last edition. So you have like your fixing. So front is front 60 in this from the hexes. All around is obviously all around, but then up or down means you can only shoot your elevation or above or your elevation or below. And then rear obviously is the rear 60. And then all your special rules, so like extra damage, aerial attack, which means you can only attack air targets, tail gunner, aerial attack, ground attack, all that fun stuff. And then what was the last one? Oh yeah, I should mention, because they're really hard to see actually. I don't know if you guys can really see them in here, but you've got upgrades, pilots, crew, and additional weaponry. So again, going out and buying the cards is going to make this really easy to track, because you'll just attach cards to the side, kind of like when we played the Harry Potter game and you attach like the wizarding spells and all the equipment to them by just like putting them next to the cards. So I wish the cards were in the 2-player starter. Like, it wouldn't have been that many cards. It would have been 9 cards and then some upgrades. I'm not sure why it wasn't. I mean, they're available the same day, I guess, so just go pick them up. But it was one of those things where like it was annoying to pass the rulebook back and forth. And for 110 bucks, I would have liked to had the assets to see what everything did in front of me when I played the game. The turn. So yeah, same as before. Choose your maneuvers, roll initiative, do your tailing fire if you're tailing anybody, and then the movement, firing, and end phase. How you move, how you fire, and then ending the phase. And then ending the game. So first of all, you have a fuel limit, only maximum of 12 turns. If your last aircraft flying, you automatically win. And then if you only have one airplane left, if you only have one person's airplanes left, then you immediately go to victory points. Once a force finds itself below 25% of its starting numbers, rounding fractions down, only one more turn can be played. That's called the disengagement turn, and then you try and fly off and you score victory points after that. So you can score victory points if you disengage and stuff. It can reduce the amount you give away. A bit like Battlefleet Gothic, where if you hit that disengagement turn, you can kind of like, you can scrounge points. So if you're still on the table and you're damaged, you're worth half your point value in VPs. But if you manage to fly off the table during the disengagement turn, you're only worth 25%. So that's a handy thing. If you accidentally disengage because you fly off the table by accident, you give away 100% if you're not damaged and 100% if you are damaged. So like, don't accidentally fly off the board because you just count as dead. And then yeah, the point difference is a win. And that's it. And then you win if you have more points. Now there's only one scenario in the book, which I was kind of bummed by. It's just the dogfight. So it's a 3x3 mat, which again, we didn't have, but it's roughly 3x3. You can play on the new mat when we get it after it comes available. And then it's between 25 and, what is it? I think it was 25 and 250 points. So we get how a scenario works here. Reserve numbers. So like if you have the reserves rule, when do people come in? Turn 1, nobody comes in. 5 plus to 2 to 4, or 5 plus for them to come in. 5 to 8 to 4 plus, 3 plus. So reserves become available and show up. Some stuff, the reserves might also be if your planes are shot down, they can come back on later on, or they go to refuel. And then night fighting in bad weather. So you might see if there's at the start of a game which uses night fighting in bad weather special rules, you roll d6 and see what happens. So night fight, it is reduced to short and medium range for shooting, and then you have your number of dice at medium. And then bad weather on a d3, roll d3 after pulling force before the choosing maneuvers phase. The result of this roll is the altitude level of the cloud cover. Above this altitude level, all the normal rules apply. At this altitude level or below, aircraft fall all the night fighting rules. So basically, if there's like a cloud cover, you have to dive. If you dive into it, you're counted as being night fighting. Which I thought was pretty cool. I actually really like the bad weather table, and then it shifts because the clouds are going up and going down, and the weather's like moving. And yeah, here's our dogfight one. So between 25 and 250 points, you could not play 250 points on that mat. Even a 3x3, 250 points seems crazy because like that's 100 points on each of those sides, and that's with upgrades. So at 250, you're talking about 2.5 times more. You'd be like 10 Imperial planes and 13 or 14 Orc planes. That's a lot of planes. That's just a lot to like manage too. I don't know if I'd want to play a 250 point game of this because there'd just be a lot to like keep track of. Kind of like Titanicus kind of bogs down after like a mana pull. Like the game really starts to chug because like there's just a lot to track and a lot to do. And then yeah, only scouts, fighters, and bombers are recommended for the dogfight scenario. Setup, players start on opposite sides of the area of engagement, starting with the player of the roll, with the winner of a roll-off. Players take turns placing aircraft within 3 X's. If both players agree, each player can keep a maximum of 2 aircraft in reserve, no more than 25% of the total point value. Meh. Night fighting in bad weather. If both players agree, you can use it in bad weather. We didn't use it in the Let's Play just because it was going to add a level of complication. And then underdog. If you're under in points by 5 points or more, you automatically get the initiative in the first turn. And then the game lasts for 12 turns, or until one side is forced to disengage, or only one person has planes left, and that's victory points to win. So this is like a nice simple scenario, but it's all you get in the starter set. So like, by only having a single scenario in the starter set, I wish they'd just give, like, there are actually on this map, if you look at this, there are actually like some called out buildings. So like this one right here is like called out with like a targeting reticle thing. I wish they'd given us, actually in this one too, I think. Yeah, here you go. So like here's some like slag, like up here. I wish they'd just given us a mission to use bombs. Because as it stands, you can buy bombs for your stuff in this. There's literally no reason to use them. I would have put another second like one-page mission in here that just used whatever was on this mat, right, and gave us a bombing target. Because there's no reason to play with any of the bombing stuff out of the box. And the Marauders just become big, kind of useless bathtubs that can't fight each other. Because the las cannons just don't work at short range. So like it can't front on fire at anything, really, at medium range. Like all of its guns are bad and don't make a lot of sense unless you load it up with missiles. And then it's not a bomber anymore. Like I took a really big, heavy missile boat. And the fighter bombers kind of lose that too. You can upgun a fighter bomber, just be crazy. The fighter bombers are basically just thunderbolts that can take bigger bombs. So yeah, I would have just liked a second scenario that used those called out buildings on the map as like bombing targets and just had them attack and defend. Like teach us how to use the ground attack stuff. If you're gonna have stuff in the box, let us use it, and then at least we have a second mission to play. Like if I'm just gonna own this, if I just buy this, if I pick it up, I'm either playing the dogfight over and over again and feeling like, well, why do I have some of these pieces? Why do I have bombs? Why do I have the option for guns? Or I'm getting a second one, I can alternate playing between the two of them. I might stay more interested and be excited about this game for longer. So just as like a like make me want to go and buy more stuff, let me try everything out of this box. That was my one, like, yeah, the dogfight's easy. It's easy to learn. It's a good demo. It's a good demo game, but it's not letting me play with all the options in the box. But you give me all these options. So yeah, that's my point number 2. Point number 1 is put the cards in. Point number 2, or like put in the player accessories and aids to make the game easy to play, like in front of you. And then the second one, of course, is give me a nice like second option to play, I guess, because I want to be able to play a second way. Then we got our squadron lists. So we have forces, basically how does a squadron list work, the Imperial Navy, all your potential upgrades you can have, so like all the cool things like you can get ejector seats to like preserve your victory points, flash and chaff launchers give you a 6 to like block missiles and stuff, infrared targeting so that bad weather rules can be ignored, an Imperial Ace, so somebody be an awesome ace, and then armored cockpit, which is actually the old rule that the Thunderbolts had where they can shrug damage on a 6. Then you got your stats, your Thunderbolts, they're 21 points. They can buy 2 options of weapons, so Hell Strikes, Sky Strikes, or Wing Bombs for 2 points each. Furies, 23, and these ones with the big Avenger Bolt Cannon on them, so that's why they're more expensive. And again, they can take 2 options, which are Hell Strikes, Sky Strikes, or Wing Bombs. The Marauder can take Hell Strikes, Sky Strikes, or Wing Bombs, and they can take up to 4 additional slots, which is pretty awesome. It's just a big flying bathtub. So if you just load him up with Sky Strike missiles, I mean, he's got some pretty baller long-range guns that could kill some people. And then your Orc Airwa, belching smoke, which is the same as flak basically, but it's because they're so like gross and smoky. Fly Boss gives you a reroll. A Wasmech special, increase the max speed and min speed characteristic of the aircraft by 1 to become a maximum of 9. So they just turn to rocket planes. Extra armor, which is the same as an armored cockpit, and then custom big shooters, which change your quad big shooters to 10-6-0. Owen took 4 of those in our last game, and they were obnoxious because the amount of dice these guys all of a sudden shit out was just crazy. And then you get your DACA jets, which are cheap. They only have 2 hits though, which is why. And they're basically just a rocket with like wings strapped to it. And then you can take 2 options for a pair of rockets or wing bombs, and obviously he took the custom big shooters. And then fighter bombers, which are 20. Oh, sorry, I misspoke. This is actually printed in here. That's good. That is good. I misspoke. I didn't see this the first time we flipped through because I wasn't looking at the orc stuff, and this is actually printed in here. Oh, thank God. Okay. Well, then just scrap everything I said about the movement diagrams, but still don't lose them because you're going to want to have them on hand. And then, yeah, the fighter bomber is it's still a fighter, actually, not a bomber class, but it can take lots of bombs. It can take 3 things at 2 points each, so rockets, wing bombs, and big bombs. It has 3 structure, which is pretty awesome. So then you get your movement diagrams. Oh, thank God, I didn't see these anywhere. I think it's because I was just looking at this when we were playing the game, and I was never looking at the orc stuff. I didn't notice the movement diagrams, but they are in here. Ah! Mission of crisis averted. Still get them laminated. You're gonna want to have them laminated. And then yeah, your quick reference, and that's it. Wings of Vengeance. Pilots, prepare to take off. So there's my review of Aeronautica Imperialis. I think my 2 key points, they kind of stand. Give me another mission to play that uses all the stuff in the box. Give me a bombing run mission. You've clearly got called out assets on the mat that you could use. I understand why the mat's not 3x3. It won't quite fit in the box if you want to keep your box as standard packaging size, which is fine. But do give me the quick reference cards for the planes, because having to hand the rulebook back and forth when you're playing, it's just distracting. It's just, if you want to have a great, like, the point of a good starter set in my mind is you get a great taste of the game. And that means that you can play with the options in the game. You get to finesse and change things. Because right now, there's no reason not to just give all the Orc Planes custom base shooters, load up your Mars with Sky Strikes, and then just brawl each other in the dogfight. I'm not getting to tweak and change things. Whereas if I had a second mission that gave me the ability to use my bombers could actually be superstars, and I'd feel more excited about the different ways the different challenges the game has to offer. And kind of like experience the menu of a game. So that's my only 2 bits of feedback really on the box set, are just like have the accessories in there, have the player aids so that we're not constantly looking at the rulebook, and we can just have everything in front of us. We don't have to have all of them, just enough for the planes that are in here. And then give me a second mission. Give me something I can do with the game that lets me try out both sides, a dogfight and a bombing mission, because then I'm actually able to use all the assets in the box. And the parts of the box that aren't geared towards just dogfighting don't feel like they're kind of second best or second rate, or being used for something they're not supposed to be used for. And so there it is. So, and yes, and I retract all my statements about the movement diagrams because it's apparently in here and I just completely missed it because Owen was playing the Orcs last night and I didn't look at it. But hooray! But get them laminated anyway because you're going to want to have them, because, again, holding the rulebook next to stuff versus being able to hold the piece of paper, you're not going to want to just open this up and try and hold it where it's supposed to be. You're going to want to have this on hand and nice and toughed up. So my lamination statement sticks, but apparently it is in there and you can photocopy it later. And that's it. So we'll see you for another GMG review soon. I hope you enjoyed this one. And again, if you want to check out the Let's Play, go click on the cards up there. Until next time, I'm Ash. Happy wargaming. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to support the channel, of course, like and subscribe and hit the little bell below to get notifications when I post future content. I do post stuff 7 days a week. If you want to support the channel further, you can, of course, buy a t-shirt through Spreadshirts, buy a measuring gauge or objective markers from Death Ray Designs, or, of course, most importantly, there is Patreon. Patreon is what makes all this possible, keeps the lights on, pays for the studio costs, pays for the equipment, model costs, and everything else, and most importantly, puts food in my kids' bellies and a roof over their heads. Big thanks to everyone, past, future, who supported me. I do this stuff because of you guys, and of course, I will continue doing it as long as I can.